Hello YouTube and welcome to One Canadian's Perspective. My name's Colin, and on this channel we're going to be talking about things that I find interesting. So it's going to be mainly political related, Canadian politics, American politics, geopolitics, and world events. I want to talk very briefly about Trump's threat of on-again tariffs, and one thing that drives me absolutely nuts is when I listen to political pundits online or on print, or when I read their articles in print. They talk about, oh, what's Donald Trump's strategy? How best to deal with Trump? It should be pretty clear to everybody by now that Trump's a moron. He has absolutely no idea what the strategy is, and he's just making it up as he goes. Let's assume that Trump is truthful in his desire to bring American manufacturing back to the American heartland. Well, you're not going to put 35% blanket tariffs on imports. So the 35% blanket tariff is he's threatened 35% blanket tariffs on Canadian imports. But I mean, you can talk about any country really. You wouldn't put large tariffs like that on business. Instead, what you would do is you would make progressive tariffs. So 5% this year, raising to 10% and 50%. So on. What that does is it allows businesses and corporations to adjust for the new financial reality of having to manufacture in the US. So, that's building the warehouses, building the factories, acquiring the proper machinery, hiring the staff, and so forth. Instead, by putting large blanket tariffs on corporations and businesses, you're basically going to put them out of business, because it's very, very difficult for a mom and pop or a medium-sized business to deal with such a large financial shock. But I mean, we're talking about a man here who's bankrupted, I believe it's 6 of his own companies, including one casino. Something else that really bothers me is the way governments, and specifically the Canadian government, has dealt with the threat of Trump. So Prime Minister Carney and the Liberal government has unilaterally surrendered with the digital service tax. So Trump has complained about Canada's digital service tax, which, to be fair, is a stupid tax. But we can argue that in a different video. In any case, Trump surrounded himself with tech bros. They don't like that tax, so Trump is complaining about that. What Canada has done is they've unilaterally surrendered and removed the tax. So what does that tell Trump? It tells Trump that his bullying tactics and threats work. Instead, if I were in charge, what I would probably do is I'd say, okay, Donald or President Trump, we're going to be setting the tax right now to maybe 5% or whatever, 5%, a small token amount. And we'll talk about the fate of this tax during our negotiations, right? And then you can just check that off and say, okay, you know what, Donald, you won, we're going to remove this tax. But by unilaterally surrendering, it allows Trump now to shift the goalposts further and move to something that maybe the government does care about. We have a farming supply management system that Trump has complained about many times. We have a very strict financial system in Canada that Trump has also said incorrectly that it doesn't allow American banks to operate here. It's just American banks don't want to adhere to the financial regulations that we have in place. But by unilaterally surrendering, it tells them the bullying tactics work, and it allows him to ask for more. Because if you're in negotiation and then your opponent gives you something for free, why wouldn't you ask for more? How would I deal with Donald Trump? I think I would try to do things like how Qatar did it. So early, like a few months ago, Qatar made a big splash about how they're going to give Donald Trump a $400 million plane. And, well, look at Trump's reaction. Oh, this plane's so much nicer than Air Force One. It's so luxurious and everything like that. We can do better. Trump is transactional. You can buy his affection. So why don't we build him a yacht? They'll spend $1 billion or something like that in sovereign for a sovereign country like Canada, $1 billion is not a lot of money, right? Or why don't we give him, say, 100 acres of land on the Canadian Shield and ask him to build the world's best golf course? Oh, President Trump, you have the world's best golf courses. Can you build the next big thing in Canada? Here's 100 acres, and we'll support you with, no property taxes and so forth, or something like that, right? To my non-Canadian viewers, the Canadian Shield, where I propose to put this stupid thing, is Precambrian rock that's very difficult to build on. So have at it, right? Come on, you know that if we talk to him that way, or if you gave him a big, beautiful yacht or whatever, that he's going to eat that all up. I think that's probably the best way to deal with Trump. Again, he's very transactional. Look at what when he sues the media corporations in the U.S. Right? They give in. You give, what was it? CBS is giving him, I think it was $16 million, and then they're gonna give, and then the new owners are gonna give him another, like $20 million. They're canceling Stephen Colbert, right? That's exactly what Trump wants. He's transactional. We can buy his affection and friendship, and I think that may be the easiest way to deal with him. Anyways, that was my little rant for today. I don't know where this channel is going to go, but we'll see. There are lots of opinions online, so I figure why not throw my own out there as well. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.